Joining me is Trevor from Central City Brewery, and he's here today to talk about craft beer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Trevor, what do you like most about your role?
Being a bartender is a good time. I get to sit at the bar and I get to just talk to people about beer. If they have open ears and they want to learn, that's my favorite part, is like just ranting about the different kinds of beer and explaining to them why craft beer is blown up here, and then hopefully getting them to try something new, and then ideally they love it.
So why is craft beer so popular?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very difficult one. I think it just blew up here. It started kind of in like California in the States a while ago. They started experimenting with hops a little bit more and making more interesting beers. Because before then, the Belgians had their beers, the Englishmen have theirs, and then basically everything else, like the Germans and everyone else, was just making lagers, very simple form of beer. And then we started playing around with hops, and then we started getting interested, and then people started making pale ales and IPAs, and then I don't know, and then it just blew up in the past few years, and now we're living in one of the highest density number of breweries in the world, and it's awesome. I think it's cool because there's like a limitless potential for beer. Like you're never gonna run out of ideas. There's always a new recipe. You can either slightly tweak it, or there's breweries here that are just doing really weird things, not in a bad way, but like they're throwing anything and everything into a beer, and some of it's just amazing to try.
So what are some popular beers now?
In general?
In general.
I would say I gotta rep Central City. We have we're one of the biggest breweries in this city. We're quite old, and we have a huge property down in Surrey. So we make tons and tons of beer. So we make, right now I'm drinking my Super Solar IPA. This is like an award-winning IPA that we make. This is an awesome beer. We also do a lot of cans that are awesome. But Fat Tug is a really interesting brewery to bring up in Driftwood. They're over in Victoria. They are like what I think is a cool example of craft beer blowing up, because they opened, they released one beer, and a couple years later, it became like the highest award-winning beer in Canada. And then now it's by far like the benchmark IPA. And
right.
It's just,
And what are some popular beers with runners?
I don't know.
Such a thing?
Yeah, I think everyone has their own taste. Like everyone likes their own things. I don't think a runner has a specific type. Personally, after a run, I love a beer that kind of kicks me a little bit. That makes me feel like I've achieved something. I don't want something really light and mellow. I kind of want something that feels like celebratory, because it's so maybe kind of harsh is not the right word, but yeah, so I love IPAs after a run because they're bitter, they have higher alcohol, and you just have a glass of that, and that makes you feel like, you just lay back, and that was an achievement.
Well, with the holidays coming up, what are some beers that you would recommend?
So yeah, with the holidays, like we're doing at Central City, we have a couple pumpkin ales coming out, which are always popular this time of season. Ours are made with actual pumpkin, which is cool. Some pumpkin beers just use that the spice mix to trick you into thinking there's pumpkin in there, but there's actually not. It's just nutmeg and cinnamon and cloves. So we have two pumpkin beers, just our normal one, and then we have our imperial. So it's like a higher alcohol one, a little bit sweeter, kind of harsh. I love it. We're also releasing a s'more stout, basically trying to jam the flavor of a s'more into our stout, and that's a lovely beer. I think this time of year, what we're going to try and do soon is just get a lot of stouts and porters and dark malted beers onto our rotating list, because that's what everyone tends to want this time of season.
Right, and craft beer is so in, I don't know, it's so popular, I should say. But tell us about this beer and what we're drinking here.
Yeah, so I'm drinking our Super Solar IPA. Like I said, it's our award-winning IPA. It's amazing. It's hopped with Mosaic and Citra hop, which you might not mean much. They're two really, really aromatic, lovely, oily hops. So the IBUs, which is like the bitterness of this beer, is pretty medium, but it's really well balanced with our malts. So it pours this brownish color, which means you kind of get a lot of that caramelly flavor from it. But then we dry hopped it and used Mosaic and Citra to bring up a citrusiness in the beer. So you get a lot of mango and lime and stuff like that from the beer, but then you also get that really sweet, perfect malt balance. I think this is one of the better IPAs out there. It really grasps the two things I tend to want from an IPA, which is like my fruity floralness, but then that like high alcohol and that really nice balance of your malts. And then you're drinking our white, or our wit, as the Belgians call it. Basically, we take a wheat beer, which is normally in beer you use something called barley, like malted barley. We call them malts. In a wheat beer, you also add just plain wheat. It really ends up softening the beer, so the body of that beer is going to feel very like cloudy and soft. It's lovely. It really goes down nice. And then the white part, means that we took a wheat beer and we made it with like citrus in it and coriander. So we'll put some like orange peel, lemon peel into the brew, and then we'll add coriander and other spices. So it's a really cool beer that I think is normally drank in the summer, but I think really applies to any season. Yeah.
You're like a beer historian. Yeah, it's great. Now you run.
I do.
And so with your, you love running, do you think you might have something, for people who are living an active lifestyle? Or I know I asked, is there a running beer, but do you think there would be something because of your...
I think like the best, everyone has their own taste. I think the coolest thing, the thing that makes the most sense after a run or during a run, which is crazy as that sounds, would be a radler. It's like, so we make one in Central City. A lot of breweries are starting to pop up and make them. Strathcona makes a really lovely one that we have on tap. A radler is, at its simplest form, a ale, maybe a lager, mixed with juice. So it's like 50-50. The reason it was invented is by bikers because they wanted a drink that could both give them the sugar they needed and the carbs they needed.
Interesting.
So it's like, if you want to have alcohol before your run, that would be what to drink. Yeah.
That's so good. So thank you, Trevor, for coming on the show, and let's cheers.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back after this break.